It's my pleasure now to introduce our keynote and guest speaker. Steve Fitzhugh is a former Denver Bronco and Cleveland Brown, and a graduate of Miami University of Ohio, where he captained both the football and track teams. He holds a Master of Divinity degree from Howard University. Steve is the national spokesperson for FCA. He's a resident of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he serves as the executive director of Power Moves, leading students into success and significance. His talks help people make positive choices in life, whether it's a high school or college campus, the corporate boardroom, or an NFL locker room. Steve's passion for success and change moves, motivates, and empowers. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Steve Fitzhugh.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. There's a little tradition we have in the black church, call and response. Thank you. I am delighted to be here. I got off the plane and the gentleman who picked me up said, it's a little chilly. And I'm coming from Minneapolis. I said, chilly is relative. Okay. You know, my daughter, they closed schools in Minneapolis when the wind chill is 40 below. And so our first 5 years there were no snow days. It's not to say we didn't have a lot of snow, we did, but they moved that snow pretty good. We had 5 snow days her senior year because of the air temperature. It was below 40 degrees outside. And my daughter called me up one day, and I was on the road traveling. She said, Dad? I said, yeah. She said, you know it's my senior year. Yes, I do. Well, the wind chill is 35 below, and we're still having school. She said, I just called to let you know I'm not going. She said, because they're telling me it's 35 below. They're telling me if it were 5 degrees colder, we'd cancel school. But anyway, it's days like this, I miss my afro. So I've been told just to go ahead and just to be myself tonight. Can I do that? Can I just be myself tonight? So they told me, so I'm going to let my hair down and be myself. You saw me struggling to get up the steps. I'm going to go ahead and say this. You know, I'm wearing a boot. I suffered my first broken bone in my life 5 weeks ago. And I'm man enough to tell you how I did it. My wife had just had hip replacement surgery, and I was the head nurse, lead chef, and top gopher. And I put her to bed, and it was about 11:30 at night, and I was doing some of my other chores. My wife always tells me, Steve, if you love me, keep my commandments. So I was taking the trash out, and a big, scary, intimidating moth came into the kitchen, and the last thing I wanted my wife, who was getting around in her walker, is to panic by saying a moth. Okay, my wife wouldn't panic by saying a moth, but still. You know, she's a dentist by profession, and she spent 8 years as a major in the Army Reserves. My wife has a drill and a gun. I wash dishes without being asked. So, but I don't want that moth to complicate our 30-year marriage. So, I couldn't reach it. I sprayed it. Right? Are you tracking with me? Okay. I sprayed the ugly moth. Okay. And the moth hit the kitchen floor, and it was flopping around, and I said, well, let me just take it out of its misery. I just decided to spray it again. I did, and it was still flopping. I said, Steve, you can step on it. It's right there. So I went to step on it, and the moth did one of these. It's me. And my foot hit that tile. Wow, it was like ice. I went down, bam! I had whiplash. I went down so bad. And I'm laying on the kitchen floor, and my wife said, Steve, what happened? I said, I'm all right. She said, here I come. I said, no, I'm all right, Karen. Steve, are you okay? She said, I'm coming. I said, no, it's okay, Karen. It took her about 7 minutes in that walker to make it to the kitchen. And I tried to, I played football in the NFL, which I've realized stands for not for long. So I can walk it off. So the next day, I'm walking it off, And the day after that, wow, I was in really bad shape and went to the ER. Yeah, Mr. Fitzhugh, you broke the bottom of your fibula and the bottom of your tibia. And first broke them after all the times I was playing in the tree as a kid. My mama said, boy, get out that tree before you hurt yourself. After all the times I stole home plate, slid head first when I was only 12 years old. After all the times I hit that tight end coming across the middle, after all the times we had that goal line stand, we beat the Oakland Raiders back in 19... The moth did it. The moth did it. Well, that's my talk for tonight. And I'm delighted to be here because, and I'll confess to you, I get the opportunity to travel all around America, except for this year because of COVID, but travel all around America and speak in schools and universities and college teams and speak in pro teams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll be honest with you. I've worked with a number of organizations, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, I haven't seen a group of folks give Jesus away to students the way the Fellowship of Christian Athletes does around America. And it's amazing. I'll be in a school, and the principals would come up to me. I was in FCA when I was in 7th grade. It's amazing how many people, how many believers we smoke out who have participated with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And we give them an opportunity to enjoy and the privilege and to enjoy sharing Christ with young people in a legitimate way and a sanctioned way, as long as it's student-led and student-run, and it's absolutely remarkable. And I had the privilege of starting the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Washington, D.C., along with a guy who was just in the videotape, a guy named Dan Britton, who is now one of our vice presidents. And I took my first group of kids to FCA camp. There was only 5 boys, and I had a 15-passenger van, and I took them to FCA camp. These kids were so big, people thought I had a van load of kids. It was just 5 boys, just some big boys. And the first day at FCA camp, they came up to me, 2 of them came up to me, man, we mad at you, Coach Steve. What? Man, you said this camp was going to be about sports, and I said, it is, man. This is the first day. We did these things called dog patch relays and stuff. Man, we playing relay races, man. Just hang in there. Man, I want to go home. Just hang in there. He said, man, they made me go to bed, man, at 11 o'clock. I ain't been to bed at 11 o'clock since I was in the 6th grade. So finally, by Thursday night in open mic, these kids had tears in their eyes, talking about how Jesus Christ had changed their lives. It was remarkable. And back in Washington, D.C., and at that time, it was identified as the murder capital of the world, of the nation, rather, because of the ratio of homicides we were having to the population. And I was at the homecoming game of one of those boys and standing in the stands, and between you and me, I could have had a contact high just standing in the stands. There was some crazy stuff going on. And I saw that kid. He saw me in the stands. Hey, Coach Steve. I'm like, man, pay attention. You on the side. You in the game, man. This is homecoming. Pay attention. No, I got to show you something. Turn around, man. I don't want the coach to get mad at me. And he said, man, I want to show you something. And he pulled up his jersey. He pulled up his jersey. I want to show you something. He had on a black shirt, and he pulled up his shoulder pad so I could see what was on his shirt. And in big white letters, it said, real men follow Jesus. Wow. And that same kid, God had revolutionized his life. All because he had a personal encounter with someone who was called to do ministry through FCA. And you know, I say this quite often and all the time, that the last thing our students need is another youth minister. The last things our students need is somebody who's trying to fill a position. Our students need a called youth minister, a called youth worker. And that's what we have at FCA. When they talked about the appeal we made at the last dinner last year, and there was somebody in the audience who experienced the call. And it was a call for me. It had to be a call for me because I was not going to leave my full-time paying job. Come on, somebody, paying job. To go raise money. It was a calling. And because, as the scripture says, we love them so much, we not only taught them the scriptures, not only built relationship with them, we gave them our very own lives. And people look at me and they look at my family and they see where I've come from. I'm born and raised in LA. That's Lower Akron, Ohio. Steve, is that your family? That's my family. Never saw my parents embrace. That's your family. That's my family. Saw my mom one time, frustrated in that dysfunctional marriage. I was only in the second grade, and she came into the living room, and I didn't even know she had a gun. She grabbed a gun out the kitchen closet, and she aimed it at my dad. Never again, not anymore. Hair was all over her head, and I stood there next to my father, and my worst fears were being realized in front of my eyes. Praise God today that he's not the monster today that he was then. My mom aimed that gun, and my dad turned to me, and those big paws of his, I'll never forget, when he wrapped it around my little tiny 7-year-old bicep, snatched him up in front of him as a shield. You won't shoot your baby. I was staring down the barrel of a gun. Steve, is that your family? That's my family. That's where I came from. That same mom, when I was living in Washington, D.C., after I retired from the NFL, and she called me up and said, Stevie, I've been dizzy ever since I fell. Mom, go to the doctor. My mom went to the doctor. The doctor said, Miss Fitzhugh, you have 6 inoperable cancerous tumors on your brain. You have 6 months to live. She lived 7. It was a sad day when I had to say goodbye to my mom. So you don't understand, my mom was my hero. My mom, she saw me play football when I was a little kid. And let me tell you something. I never went to practice with a dirty uniform. Sometimes my uniform was still wet and smelled like bleach because that's how my mama rolled. She saw me play in high school where I was captain of the football team and captain of the track team. She saw me play at Miami University in Ohio where I was captain of the football team, captain of the track team. She saw me play for the Denver Broncos and we beat the Oakland Raiders back at 19, whatever. But people ask me all the time, Steve, did you play with John Elway? I did not play with John Elway. John Elway played with me. It was a sad day when I had to say goodbye to my mom. It was a sad day. I only played football because of my big brother Raymond. My big brother Raymond was off the chain. Wow. I'm sorry, that means exceptional. Off the chain, Roger. What does he mean, off the chain? I'm bilingual. I speak English and Ebonics. Look it up. I used to go to my brother Raymond's football games. I still hear announcer now, touchdown Ray Fitzhugh. That's my brother. Touchdown Ray Fitzhugh. That's my brother. Oh, I was so excited. My brother Raymond, he took me in his bedroom one day, opened his top drawer, showed me scholarship offers from colleges all over the country. All my big brother Raymond had to do was sign his name on the dotted line, full scholarship. One problem, he was an eagle who should have been soaring in life, but he didn't have enough courage to cut off the chickens that he was rolling with. And he called that guy his friend. He wasn't a friend. He's what I call a frenemy. A friend to your face, but an enemy of your future. He had no idea. Then he put that and his frenemy put that malt liquor in his face. And that first sip of that alcohol was sucked out of him the next 25 years of his life. He smoked so much crack cocaine that the base of his brain exploded. He died instantly, never went to college, never became all he was supposed to be. Steve, is that your family? That's my family. And my mom died on my other brother Chuck's birthday. When I want to wish my brother Chuck a happy birthday, I have to call him the day before because he'll be in bittersweet pain on July 2nd. Birthday, yes, but the anniversary of our mom's death, and he'll be processing that pain. Steve, is that your family? I don't have time tonight to tell you about my sister Greta. We lost her in 2008. Multiple sclerosis complicated by her drug abuse. That's my family. Well, what's the difference? The difference is I had a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. That's the difference. The difference is there was somebody who loved me so much, they not only shared the scriptures with me, they gave their very own lives. Like some of the coaches we've been talking about tonight. Coaches who will have that imprint on the lives of these students, that we want to encourage these coaches, equip these coaches, build these coaches up. We're called to help this community of athletes and all whom they influence. That first huddle I did at Dunbar High School in Washington, D.C., I walked into that principal's office, excited because I had a nice full-time job, but I promised Dan Britton of FCA that I'll only start one huddle and just give FCA a DC address and phone number. And I went to that school across the street from my office, and I met with the principal, and it was crazy in this school office, and she said, meet me in the library. I went up in the library, I waited. She finally came up, and Dr. Eva Rousseau, the principal of Dunbar High School, sat down, put out a pen and pad. She said, okay, Steve Fitzhugh, tell me all the things I can do to help you get Jesus Christ into my school. Wow! I quit that other job. This is what I want to do. FCA became so big at that school, on Thursdays, all the sports teams would delay their practices a half hour so all the kids who wanted to go to FCA can go to the FCA meeting. And I was there at Kent State University talking to my former defensive coordinator, a guy named Dean Pease, who is now head coach at Kent State University. He went on to get 2 Super Bowl rings by being a defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, and I don't know how he survived that. And then he went on and did some great work for a teammate of mine named John Harbaugh, who was the coach for the Ravens, and Dean Pease was the defense coordinator there, and another Super Bowl ring. And when he was there at Kent State, he said, Steve, he said, I got a kid on my team who remembers you. And he told me what you said at his high school at an FCA assembly. His name is Josh Cribbs, and he returns kicks. And so I caught up with Josh Cribbs when he was playing for the Cleveland Browns. I said, yeah, I talked to Dean Pease, and he told me about, you mentioned something about a high school assembly we did, and this kid who is now playing for the Cleveland Browns, returning kicks, he's retired today. He found out what NFL stands for. But you know, Josh Cripps, he's telling me everything he heard, all because he had an encounter. Because the people who decided to love on his coach and love on his school and love on his athletes, that's what FCA does. Yeah, FCA stands for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But FCA also stands for faith, commitment, and accountability. We challenge coaches and students to believe that Jesus Christ has a plan for their lives. We challenge them to make a commitment to love the Lord Jesus Christ of all their hearts and lives and become the greatest version of themselves that they can be. And FCA is a place where students get accountability, rub shoulders with friends who will help hold them accountable to the things they've committed to. I think one of the most significant things in the last few years that's really caught on with what we do through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is how we've embraced the coach. Because leadership is so vital. I work for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes as a national spokesperson, but at the same time, when I put that cap on, my day-to-day is for the NFL. I'm a consultant, and I'm called a transition coach, and it's about a dozen of us transition coaches, and I tell our men all the time, wherever you find yourself today in life, wherever you find yourself today, you made an appointment to be there. By all the things that you were supposed to do that you didn't do, all the things you weren't supposed to do that you did. You are where you are today because of leadership. And you are the leader. Leadership is so vital. One of my mentors said, an army of sheep led by a lion can defeat an army of lions led by a sheep every time. Leadership is so critical. And Jesus showed us how to lead, didn't he? I like how Jesus showed us how to lead. He made it very clear in John chapter 13, and the first part of John, we hear so much about the deity of Jesus Christ, and the Word was with us, the Word became flesh, but John chapter 13, we see this transition where Jesus is hanging out with his crew. I'm sorry, this is 1 Steve chapter 7, and he's hanging out with his boys, and he says, he gets a basin and a towel, wraps it around him, and he starts to wash their feet. And oh, crazy Peter, crazy Peter, you ain't washing my feet, man. You the Lord, man, you are not what you are Jesus the King, you are not washing my feet. And Jesus said, Peter, if you don't allow me to do this, if you don't allow me to make this kind of expression, if I don't do this, you can't even be my disciple. You missed the whole reason why I've come. I have come to serve, to give of myself. Then Peter said, then give me a bath then, wash all of me. Peter was something, wasn't he? Like when he cut off the soldier's ear when they came to arrest Jesus, you think he was aiming for his ear? No, he was like, you gonna take Jesus? Had a switchblade on it. I knew he was from Bethlehem. Yeah. I will cut your head off, player. I will cut your head off. And the dude dug, my ear. Jesus made a, Peter, give me his ear. Stop it. I digress. I offer you tonight as I finish this introduction, I offer you this thought. If there ever was a time that America is in need of somebody to lead Jesus' way, it's today. If there ever was a time, I've gotten more calls and petitions from people who need a word to respond to what's going on culturally in America than I have ever before. There's so much division and hurt and strife, and you have any idea? Can I keep it 100? Can I keep it 100? I like to say that because it makes me sound hip. My 23-year-old daughter said, "Dad, don't say 100. I said, "What? That's what the kids are saying? You got to say 100. Can I keep it 100? Pandemic, lost wages, the wife has a hip replacement surgery, the husband got tripped up by a moth. There was a little bit of irritability in my home. Y'all feel what I'm saying? Woo! If there ever was a time that marriages, if there ever was a time that homes and families, and there ever was a time that employers, employees, if there ever was a time we need personal leadership and corporate leadership, athletic leadership, if there ever was a time that we need to build our coaches up, it is today. And I love this verse. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap. In other words, if you can do good, if you can make a difference, do it. And don't worry about the immediate returns. Just do it. It's amazing. Stephen, who picked me up from the airport today, talked my ear off. No, I'm just kidding. I did all the talking. I was doing all the talking. I'm sorry, Stephen. He asked me, did I know Wendell Dale? I said, yeah, I know Wendell Dale. Because when I was a freshman at Miami University, Wendell Dale was an Athletes in Action minister there in Cincinnati, and he would bring a rookie on the NFL team named the Cincinnati Bengals named Anthony Munoz to Miami of Ohio University, where I was one of the student athletes, and Munoz I just remember them driving down the street and pulling over, and hey, this is Anthony Munoz. Wow, how you doing? And Anthony sharing his testimony. How rich that was for me. Here I am, a young, impressionable freshman in college, full scholarship, and here's just the first-round rookie draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals telling me how important it is to know Jesus Christ. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, and oftentimes we may not see the fruit, but I told Stephen, let Wendell Dale know that I'm just one of the guys. I'm some of the fruit of the opportunities he took. Let us not grow weary in well-doing. I don't know what you can do. Just do it. That John Harbaugh kid, I'm on the board of Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Baltimore, and we're trying to bring a city director on, and we're down to about $3,000 a month left to get her full salary for the year. And it got John Harbaugh, head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, coached a year in the NFL last year, got him on a Zoom call, and John, this is what we need. And she's about $3,000 a month short, and John says, what if my wife and I, out of our foundation, what if we wrote a check this year for $100,000 and a check next year for $50,000? Would that help? Yeah, John. I think that'll help. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap. And verse 10, therefore, as we have opportunity, as you have opportunity, Some people are trying to make opportunities, The Bible says, let your light shine. It doesn't say, shine your light. Just go shine it in somebody's face all up. No, let your light shine. Let your light shine. Therefore, as we have opportunity, as you have opportunity, tonight you just might be somebody's John Harbaugh. You might be thinking, well, my check is only going to be $6,000. I was amazed. I gave a luncheon, fundraising luncheon. I'm almost done. I be looking at, okay, he's going over. I did a luncheon. Darryl Green, a friend of mine from Hall of Famer from the Washington Redskins, was my speaker. If you're ever having trouble getting a name guy to come speak for you, just create an award and say you're going to give out the first installment of that, and you want them to speak at your event. So that's what I did with Darryl. Darryl, I have the Darryl Green Sportsmanship Award for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Can you be our speaker? Yeah. So, but I had a guy at the banquet. I was going through, because what's going to happen here, people are going to see how do we do, and people want to know, and so I was going through some of the giving, and one person gave 3 checks in one envelope, each one $1,000, and I talked to him. I said, "Thanks for your gift, man. That was such a blessing." He said, "But why did you?" I would have wrote 1 check for $3,000. You wrote 3 checks for $1,000 out the same account. I'm not trying to get all over your business. I'm just curious. And he said, well, Steve, I got a philosophy. I want to give until it hurts. And so I feel passionate about making a difference in Washington, D.C., so I wrote you a check for $1,000. And the Lord said, that didn't hurt you. So I wrote another check for $1,000. I put it in an envelope, and the Lord said, that didn't hurt either. He said, the 3rd check, I felt that. Therefore, as you have opportunity, let us do good unto all men. What you do tonight in support of this ministry is going to make a difference. You may not see the fruit, but I guarantee you it's going to make a difference. And that's what I'm standing here to tell you. It made a difference in somebody like me. Who'd have thunk it? You know what I've been doing the last 3 summers? Except COVID summer. You know what I've been doing the last 3 summers? I've been teaching American football to Muslim, Jewish, and Christian boys all over Israel. I'm telling the kid, bend your knees, son. Now pump your hearts. Run, 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 run. I'm in Bethlehem, down the street from where Jesus was born. I had no idea. I have the wife that I have today. My wife is so fine, I can't even talk. I had no idea I have the 2 beautiful daughters I have today, 23 and 28, and when they were young, I used to tell them every day, and even today I still tell them, but I used to tell them every day how beautiful they are. I'd say, look, Daddy and I, girlfriend, you are beautiful. You are gorgeous. You are hurting me. You are so pretty. Because I knew they were going to start dating one day, and the first little raggedy something come dragging up on them. Can't even put a sentence together. You know how they do. What's up, girl? Yeah, off the easy for shizzle, my nizzle. What's up, girl? Yeah, girl, you look good. My daughter's gonna be like, I look good. You look good. My daddy tell me that every day. What else she got to offer me? Actually, just yesterday, my daughter said she was walking down the street and a guy pulled over, rolled down the window, and said, thank you for being so beautiful. And she said, oh, thank you. And I trained her well to keep walking. But she got on Facebook and she told the story, and she said, I told him, my daddy tell me that every day. What else you got to offer me? She's 28. Had no idea that little Stevie Fitzhugh from L.A. would be having lunch with his wife and daughters under the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. Had no idea I'd be standing in front of 35,000 school children in Zimbabwe, telling them about the love of Jesus Christ. Had no idea. Had no idea. I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad that somebody took their opportunity to make a difference in my life. I'm so glad somebody sowed a seed into the ministry that reached out to me. I'm so glad that called youth minister and that person who said, I feel led to serve in this ministry, responded to the call. And you know what? Life is going to be better off because of that. As you have opportunity, recognize your opportunities. And God is faithful and he is just. And he wants you to know he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And this is what Paul said. Paul said, I'm excited. He told the Philippians, every time I go somewhere and I travel and I speak and I serve, people give into my work, into my what I do. I'm paraphrasing again. He said, but you're the only church that sends blessings to me after I've left. And he said, I'm excited about that because my success is going to be credited to your account. That's why we partner together. But I can't reach coaches. We reach coaches. I can't reach students. We reach students. You can partner with us as we fulfill the God call on our lives. Amen. God bless you. Thank you for coming.